Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever the time may be, wherever the hell you are. Welcome back to the channel, or welcome for the first time. If you're new here, I am James, aka Widowed, and I am here today to bring you the ultimate guide to every single relic that we know of, at least, in this league, and even make some predictions about the ones that we don't quite know yet. And yes, this is the night before leagues. I did in fact dye my hair red because I was excited about a seasonal game mode in a 2007 point and click adventure game. And that's a perfectly normal thing to do. I will not have you telling me otherwise. Anyway, I've wanted to make some videos on the relics as the reveals have been happening over the past couple of weeks, but I actually wanted to know what was paired against what before making my video. I was hoping it did come out before the league itself, and it turns out it was the very final release that we got previewed today in the live stream that Old School RuneScape did on their channel. So yeah, I'm going to be going through every relic and sort of weighing in my opinion on them. I thought it was important to know what they were paired against because I don't think you can really evaluate the worth of something until you know what its cost is. So knowing what is up against what definitely helps with making some of these decisions, and I'm pretty happy with the way that this has turned out. Most of my choices are fairly locked in. The only ones that aren't so much are the ones that we know less about. But yeah, enough prattling on, let's get on with the video, and this first portion is going to be unbiased, not me trying to weigh in based on what I'm doing in the league, so I will just caveat the whole video with all of this matters only depending on your playstyle. Like, the way that you like playing the game, the areas you like going to, the things that you like prioritizing with your time, that has to be taken into account. There's no real case where there's just, this is the most powerful choice and therefore we pick it. Play the game the way you want to play it. That's the most important thing that you should ever know. There are some choices that I'm making that may not be the most powerful options, but I'm picking them because that's how I like to play, and I recommend you do the same. Anyway, with that all out of the way, let's move on to Tier 1, our skilling relics. Now, I'm not going to spend too long on these because I think they've been out long enough that everyone has sort of seen them and processed what they are by now. But a quick overview: Endless Harvest lets you fish, cut trees and mine rocks, and everything goes straight to the bank and gets doubled. It's pretty simple. Production Prodigy lets you do a lot of different activities instantaneously for the full invent rather than having to wait for each item, which is gonna definitely be a huge buff to that playstyle, but gonna require some fast fingers. And you get potential bonus products along with a plus 12 boost to those skills. And then Trickster finally is the one that lets you auto pickpocket. You get agility experience giving boots. The Sage's Greaves will give you agility experience as you run around with them on. And you get improved box traps and some extra log burning, and you cannot fail thieving, agility, hunter, or fire making. So generally, the first two sort of go hand in hand, I feel. Because Endless Harvest and Production Prodigy are direct opposites of each other. Endless Harvest is the relic to pick if you want more AFK time. It will extend your AFK time infinitely. Like, you will AFK as much as you like, as long as you like, without having to go to the bank or anything. However, depending on future tiers, if you're particularly taking Banker's Note, that becomes less valuable. So if you're planning on picking Banker's Note in future, and obviously we'll get to that, then I wouldn't recommend Endless Harvest as much. But if you want more AFK time, if you're playing at work, working from home, or whatever, then Endless Harvest is going to be great for you. Production Prodigy, on the other hand, is going to cut down your AFK time to pretty much nothing. Instead of having those periods where you're just standing at the bank cutting gems or mixing potions or making longbows or whatever, you can do that all instantaneously. You're just going to need fast clicks to go back and forth between your bank and everything. So it's going to put your AFK time to 0, and you're going to be in overdrive 100% of the time. Now, Trickster, on the other hand, is a bit of an outlier because it doesn't really interact in the same way as these other two do. So, Trickster, I think, is a good option for someone who's less sure of the playstyle that they want to go into, someone who doesn't want to go full AFK, and someone who doesn't want to go full sweaty nerd. It's kind of like a balanced middle ground between the two. Despite not really having any actual abilities in common, it sort of makes it a nice balance, because you still get AFK stuff like the auto pickpocket and the 0 time agility training effectively, and much faster fire making, of course. And then you also get that thing that's like, well, you actually can't fail these, so that could be super handy if thieving, especially, you know, you're thieving Vyres or elves or whatever. So Trickster, I think Trickster's the one to take if it appeals to you. I think I've actually got the wrong icon here. I hope I haven't done that in any of the other slides, but I've just realised the Trickster icon is wrong, so sorry about that. You know what it looks like by now anyway. I'm going to stop talking about the tier 1 skills, because these are the ones that have been out for the longest that people know about and have debated to no end. I will be going through my own choices at the end, so I'll leave that for now, and we'll go on to the second tier, which I have dubbed as the travel relics. Now, there's only 2 in this category, and they're both methods of transportation that are going to help you move around the world quicker and in different ways. Globetrotter will give you an amulet that has all the teleports that you could get from a Guild Nexus in your house. So basically all spellbook teleports and all teleports from jewellery that would go in an ornate jewellery box, which is all jewellery. So it gives you a lot of teleports off the bat that will be really handy for moving all over the map. You don't have to worry about other teleportation methods. You don't need to carry around, you know, your runes for teleports or your dueling ring or your games necklace anymore. That's all just going to be in one item, so it's one invent space. Very succinct. On the other hand, Fairy's Flight offers you the opportunity to instantly teleport from anywhere to any fairy ring, spirit tree, or tall leprechaun. Now, I think this is an absolutely phenomenal ability, personally, and I said I wasn't going to be biased during this, so let me try and be a little less biased. The reason that I think that to me this does seem like a better choice in a lot of cases is because you don't have a way to get to tall leprechauns through the main game. You can achieve the things that Globetrotter gives you with time and skills or resources or whatever, but you can't achieve what Fairy's Flight gives you with resources and time. Except for some edge cases like Explorer's Ring into the Cabbage Patch, or, you know, the Ardy Cloak to the farming one there. There are a lot more tall leprechauns than that, and I highly recommend, if you're casting this one to one side, just go and have a look at the map with all the pins of tall leprechauns of it, and it might make you reconsider the power of this relic. That being said, Globetrotter is no slouch. It's going to be incredibly handy for getting you all across the map to wherever you need to go within your unlocked regions. So definitely nothing to sniff at. And if you're not planning on doing any construction at all, then it's probably good as well in that scenario, because, you know, you're not going to have those portals in your house, and having to carry around all the runes or all the jewelry all the time is not the most ideal option. Yeah, so there's Globetrotter and Fairy's Flight. I think it's kind of obvious which one I'm going to pick, but I'll let you make your own mind up, of course. Let's go on to tier 3. Now, this is the tier I have dubbed Power. There are only two options again in this tier, Banker's Note or Fire Sale, and these are two that have been hotly debated since they have been revealed in the teaser sneak previews that we've been getting. However, we finally know that they're paired up against each other now, so we're going to have to pick between these two very powerful relics. Now, the first one, Banker's Note, gives you the item in your inventory that you can use on other items to note or unnote them. I don't know if that's the exact process, but yeah, you can note and unnote items at will from your inventory with Banker's Note. It's pretty self-explanatory. It gives you a bank in your backpack. It's pretty good. There's tons of applications to this. You know, you can sit by a runic altar and just keep unnoting essence. You can bring 1,000 sharks into the fight caves. You can do a lot of different stuff with this. And on the other side, we've got Fire Sale, which also allows you to do a lot of things. It lets you to do anything that is bought from a shop at the cost of 0 GP. You can buy as many things from shops as you want. And side note to this is that in League, all the shops have infinite stock. You can still only buy the amount at the time that they usually have in stock. So if there's 5 sapphires available, you can only buy 5 sapphires at once. But it's immediately back up to 5 sapphires. There's no wait in restock time. So that's definitely something that you want to consider when you're thinking about whether you want Fire Sale. Now, this is going to fall off a bit more in the late game when you have access to lots of resources and money-making methods. My argument against that is that you just don't have to do those methods as much, you know, and it also is so powerful in the early game. There's going to be a bunch of tasks, things like, if you imagine building something with marble in your house, that's probably worth a couple 100 points at least, and it's very easy to do with Fire Sale when you can just buy all the resources you need for a ton of different abilities. On the other hand, like I said, Banker's Note is sort of a version of Endless Harvest. It doesn't give you the double resources, of course, but it does allow you to AFK pretty indefinitely at a particular spot, and it has those other applications as well, such as bringing extra resources into instanced areas, or, you know, things like that that Last Recall can't handle, because everybody has Last Recall, so that is always something you want to take into note, particularly on this tier, is how much value are you going to get out of Banker's Note? Is the value that you're planning to get out of it going to be in those edge cases, like taking extra food into the fight caves or the Inferno? In which case, then I'd say Banker's Note is probably a good choice. But if the extra value you're intending to get out of it is reducing banking time so you can sit and fish Kourend ones, or you can, I don't know, sit at a runic altar, then you may be able to get the same effects out of Last Recall, at least once your total level is high enough, which I think is something that everybody is, you know, striving to push for in leagues, is a high total level. The higher your levels are, the better in general in RuneScape, but, you know, XP gain is so fast that everybody gains levels so fast that Last Recall is going to come online for most people at a 0 cooldown at some point. So yeah, these two relics, both very powerful, both have their pros and their cons to them, and I definitely think this tier is one that you want to take into account your other tiers when you're making your choice here, because like I said, you don't need Banker's Note if you've got Endless Harvest, and or vice versa necessarily. Fire Sale works really well with Production Prodigy because you can buy all the resources that you need, and Production Prodigy has a lack of resources. So there's different combinations, and really the power of the relic depends not only on your playstyle but on the rest of your build. So just keep that in mind, especially at this tier, because this is one that you're going to get some value out of and is going to be a difficult choice for a lot of people. Now, tier 4 is the combat relics. I'm not going to go through all the individual little bits and pieces in each of these, but we've got the range relic, the melee relic, and the mage relic. Now, these have also been known for a while, so I'm not going to spend too long talking about them, But essentially, the gist is whichever style you pick, you save ammunition slash charges slash runes. You have half attack speed, and yeah, you get extra bonuses on top of that, either accuracy, defense, damage, all sorts of different things. You get crits with a melee, or you can have extra bolts from uh, extra bolt procs, or extra chance to fire a projectile from the ranged one. You get splash damage from the mage one, along with a rune pouch that can hold up to 2 extra runes. Really, whichever side of the combat triangle is your favourite, pick that one and go with it. There's nothing too complicated about this tier, but it's gonna define your strongest aspect. So make sure that it fits with the regions that you're intended to pick, or that the regions fit with the style that you're intended to pick. That's the main thing here. Is have a close look at, like, what sort of gear and resources you're gonna have available with the build and the region choices that you've chosen, and that's gonna allow you to determine which of these to go for. On the other hand, you might have already known which of these to go for since day one, like me. I knew I was going archers. Just spoiled that bit from the end, but oh well, I've said it in a previous video. I knew I was going to make a range build, because I like doing range. That's simple. So then, the rest of my region planning was, okay, which regions are good for range, but then which ones do I actually like doing as well, and so on and so on. So yeah, just pick what you like, pick the style you like. Combat doesn't need too much time. Okay, tier 5, 6, and 7 are a bit more up in the air. We do not know confirmed any of these. Anything with a little star next to it, like I've put on the 3 on this slide, is not confirmed, so it is speculation. So this tier is probably the most unknown. We know the names of them, and that's it. We've got Treasure Seeker, Bloodthirsty, and Infernal Gathering there. Now, in previous years, there has been a clue scroll relic named, I think maybe named Treasure Seeker, or named something different, I'm not sure, but similar sort of vibe there. So I'm assuming that that's what this one is going to be. It'll be a buff to clue scrolls, the rate that you get them, the amount of steps you have to do, maybe the loot that you get inside of them, who knows. But it's going to be a buff to clue scrolls of some sort, we can assume. The second one, Bloodthirsty, is unclear. I assume it's related to Slayer based on the icon. Looks like a Slayer icon. And in previous years, there has been relics that allow you to pick your own Slayer task, along with some other benefits like increased superior enemies and stuff like that. So I would assume that we've got the Treasure Trail relic, the Slayer relic, and then finally at the bottom here we have the Infernal Gathering relic. This will burn and give XP, or smelt and give XP, or cook and give XP, whatever resources you're getting. So if you want to train 2 skills at once, and also allows you to AFK, because it's not going to go into in certain circumstances. If you're doing wood cutting, it would allow you to AFK because you're going to burn the logs, so you're not going to have anything in your inventory. In the other 2 examples, it wouldn't work quite the same, but it does allow you to smelt bars without needing coal, as you just mine them, or to cook fish as you fish it out of the ocean. So again, we don't know 100% that that's confirmed, but that's what it has been in previous years. So in general, we've got sort of a Gathering relic, a Slayer assumed relic, and a Treasure relic here. It's a bit hard for me to weigh in too much while we don't have all the information, but of course we will get that information tomorrow as Leagues releases. And on number 6, again, there's less known here. The only one that we know pretty much 100% is Ruinous Powers, as it was announced already and seems to have been confirmed to be the same as the tested prayer book that they did previously release. So yeah, that gives you access to essentially an enhanced prayer book. It's got all the similar prayers that you used to, except a little bit better. This can cause different regions that you might have been planning to take to be less obsolete if you're planning to get Ruinous Powers later in your journey. Piety is less needed from Kandarin if you're taking Ruinous Powers for example, as are Augury and Rigor from Zaya, if you're taking Ruinous Powers. So that is something to keep in mind if this is something you're interested in. And then the other two we really do know less about again, but taking guesses based on previous years' relics that have been of similar names or in similar slots, we can guess that Equilibrium is going to allow you to gain additional experience drops from every experience drop that you get. Previously it was 10% and it didn't scale with the XP multiplier of leagues, but it basically allows you to just get passive XP as you're doing whatever you're doing and boost those rates even further. Farmer's Fortune, on the other hand, we don't really know much about this. In previous years, it's made farming ticks happen in like 1 minute rather than 5 or something like that, you know. So basically, like, all your stuff grows twice as fast. You get more harvest yield out of your crops that you grow. Maybe you find more seeds. Could even have something to do with money with the name Farmer's Fortune. It's really unclear at the minute. But this is going to be your farming relic. That much is clear. It's the farming relic. So if farming is something that you intend to do a lot of, you're definitely going to want to pick this one. Yeah, it's hard to give too much insight onto these. Obviously, Equilibrium is an interesting, sort of changes the way you play. Because it was based on your total level, not based on the task that you're doing. So having lots of small gains can be very profitable in Equilibrium if it stays the same. It changes the way you play the game. Farmer's Fortune, probably not going to change the way you play the game, but if you like to farm, it's going to enhance that play style. And Ruinous Powers, as mentioned, very powerful prayer book that it gives access to, enhances your general ability to play the game. And yeah. Now here again at tier 7 I have named this slide Combat Specialty, because that's about the closest I can narrow it down to what this tier might be. And the only one that we know 100% here is Weapon Master, which was revealed with one of those little trailers. Special attacks have 100% accuracy, you will never miss a spec with this relic. And you can sacrifice hit points for additional special attacks. It seemed to be HP per spec amount, so like if it costs you 25 for a Dragon Dagger spec, it's 25 health for a Weapon Master spec, from what I can gather. So it could be a very powerful tool, especially if your spec has the ability to heal you, then it could completely offset the cost. However powerful this is remains to be determined, but in past years special attack relics have been incredibly popular, so I wouldn't be surprised if this is a lot of people's choice in tier 7. Soul Stealer, on the other hand, it's unclear. My assumption is that it likely provides HP back to you upon killing an enemy. That just seems the most logical thing given the icon and the name. Previous things have been done in previous years. However, they've done it in previous years with like when you deal damage rather than when you necessarily secure a kill. I think that Soul Stealer says to me they're changing it to when you secure a kill, so that it's not just constantly throughout a fight, but more like a top-up at the end of them. And it may also give you prayer back as well, like the previous version did. It remains to be determined, like this could be something completely different as well. It's definitely one to keep an eye on when we have more information. And then finally Berserker. Again, this is unclear, but it could be some sort of health regeneration effect, just passive regeneration. It could also be something like doubling the size of your health pool. I don't know, that seems a bit weird, but it could be cool. And the most likely option that I'm leaning towards is a Darox type set effect. No, not set effect, but something like the Darox set effect. The lower HP you are, the more damage you deal. That seems the most berserkery to me. It sort of looks like there's little arrows pointing down. I can't tell if those are hearts or arrows or a combination of the two, but it looks kind of like there's a little down indication, with the health sort of being the cost to go berserker here. So that's what I'm leaning towards with berserker. In this tier, really, we do need a little bit more information to make a solid decision. They're all going to allow you to be overpowered in different areas. So pick the area that you like the most. If you like making use of weapon special attacks, pick Weapon Master. If you want to be able to sustainably kill Slayer monsters, maybe pick Soul Stealer if that's what it allows you to do. And Berserker, on the other hand, is going to be for that high risk, high reward, if it turns out to be what I'm assuming here. And then we only have one more tier, and this one is known. Now, tier 8, which was previously unannounced until today, we thought there were 7 tiers, turns out there's actually 8. We know every single one of these, they've been fully spoiled for us already. Executioner gives you a throwing axe, you equip it and bop it at an enemy that has 20% health, and that enemy dies. Don't think it matters what it is from what I've seen, it just dies. Undying Retribution, on the other hand, if you die, says, actually, no I didn't, gonna explode and blast everyone around me. It's capable of killing a Jad, I know that much. Again, limitations, cooldown, unsure, but very powerful, life-saving effect, and also could allow you to kill something nearby, whatever it was that killed you, presumably. And then finally, Guardian gives you an enhanced roll. This scroll is able to attack with all 3 styles, lasts for half an hour, can be resummoned again immediately, can be used everywhere except for where you're restricted on items, so I assume this means... my first assumption was that this meant you couldn't take it into Gauntlet, but apparently the Gauntlet is an exception to this rule, so... the Guardian can be summoned in the Gauntlet, but other areas where items are restricted, it can't be. Which I'm not sure where those areas are, because I can't actually think of any other than the Gauntlet. Like, you can take shit into Soul Wars. Like, yeah. If anyone knows what the other examples are, I'd be interested. Just comment them down below. But yeah, this gives you a very powerful ally, essentially, that is going to be able to help you. If you're a solo player, it'll be especially useful, because you don't have any other teammates. And it can be used alongside Thralls if you did go with Zaya as well, so no need to worry about it replacing Thrall that you were planning to have it in your toolkit, if that is the case. So yeah, we get Executioner here as a nice finisher. However, if you're planning to play in teams, probably best to make sure that none of the teammates, the players that you're regularly grouping with, also have it before picking it, because multiple people having it, one of them's not going to be getting the value out of it. You only need one person in the team to have it. If you're solo, it's just going to help you finish off every fight. And Undying Retribution, I don't think it really matters if you plan to play solo or in groups. You can just do it if you're not 100% confident, if you want the just explosion factor, or I don't know, like, yeah, if you feel like you die a reasonable amount, and that's not a bad thing to admit, I die a reasonable amount, not going to be taking this one personally, but if you feel that you're going to die and you're going to fuck up and you want to still get the KC anyway, then Undying Retribution is perfect for you, because that's literally what it does. And yeah, that is all the relics gone through now. I am going to move on to my own choices and tell you what I'm going to pick. So, first up we got Production Prodigy. Has to be. I am a sweaty nerd. I'm going to be going ham. I'm going to be clicking all the items and doing all the things, and I'm going to be doing it 10 times faster than I ever did before, and I'm going to have boost, and it's going to be glorious and beautiful. That whole spiel was about at the pace that I expect my game to go after I pick Production Prodigy, because that's what it's going to be like. It's just going to be turbo mode from minute 1, and I'm excited and I can't wait for it, because I hate bank standing. I hate doing those long slow abilities. I'm like, oh yeah, I've got loads of logs, I could do some fletching today, and then I fletch 2 inventories, and I'm like, bro, what am I doing? Like, that'll be done before I've had a chance to consider it. So, Production Prodigy for me, 100%. I'm ready to go full sweaty degenerate with it, and I couldn't be more excited. As for Tier 2, I am going to be picking Fairy Rings. I think the Leprechaun Teleport is very useful as well, but the ability to get to any Fairy Ring, especially when we start with the Drayman Staff for free, I think is going to be super useful. As well as that niche ability to go to leprechauns where you wouldn't necessarily be able to have a teleport directly to that place. So for me, it's going to be fairy rings. Uh, yeah, fairy rings. Not too much to say on that one. Tier 3 is the one that everyone's debating, and I personally am going to go fire sale. There's a couple of reasons for this. I feel like Last Recall is going to make a lot of the banknote benefits obsolete, and the fact that everybody gets it and you can eventually get it to be zero cooldown with total level increasing, like it's going to fall off in late game Banker's Note as much as Fire Sale is, in my opinion, because of that Last Recall being available all of the time. If your main plan is to use it, like I say, for like niche cases, like bringing 1,000 sharks into an Inferno, sure, whatever, do your thing. Like, it's great. But I don't anticipate doing anything like that. I would rather use this to completely fund all of the skills that I'm going to be production prodigying. I'm going to be able to get my crafting up. I'm going to be able to get my smithing up. I'm going to be able to get my fletching up. That means I'm going to be able to make myself all the gear that I was originally planning to obtain from clue scrolls. Now I don't have to do a clue scroll grind, and I couldn't be more excited to not do a clue scroll grind. Guess what? I also don't have to do a gauntlet grind, because I don't need money or supplies. I can buy all my runes. I can get everything I need for the entire game. I can even fast track construction by just making ridiculously expensive things for high XP rates, because those items have ridiculous XP rates. They just cost, they're so expensive that you never usually build them. You could probably get a tier like a full house in day one if you wanted. For me, Fire Sale just has so many different applications, and with the regions that I've decided to go with, Kandarin Desert and the third, which I'll be talking about in just a minute, Fire Sale is the choice for me, so that's how it's going to be. As I already mentioned, Archer's Embrace I will be taking. I'm looking forward to using that one. And the reason I've sort of highlighted these first four here is because these are the ones I'm most set in stone with. The other four could change depending on what they are. And I'm basing what I've picked for the last four based on my assumptions of what they are. So I've gone with the Slayer in tier 5 because I know I'm going to be doing Slayer. Slayer is important. I've picked Kandarin, it's a big Slayer region. So Slayer is going to be really important for me. If I can pick my own tasks, that'll be fantastic. I'll definitely be going with that one. If not, maybe I go for the Treasure Clue one, maybe I go for the Infernal one. I don't really know. It depends what they are at the end of the day. In terms of tier 6, I think I'm going to be going for Equilibrium because it does change the way you play the game. It rewards lots of small actions, and if it works the same way as last time, it will trigger with every activation of Production Prodigy. Like, every individual item will trigger Equilibrium, not just one trigger for the whole invent. So you can get 28 Equilibrium triggers at once, 27 maybe, I guess is more appropriate. For like cutting gems or whatever. So yeah, it's definitely something that, because it changes the way you play the game so significantly, I want to experiment with it and try it out and see what I can get it to do. The tier 7 really is unknown, but assuming this is some sort of lifesteal, life gain mechanic, I will be picking it because I would like to be able to sustain Slayer troops without having to go back to the bank or something. As you can see, my only method of going back to a bank is transportation through Last Recall or teleports that I've unlocked. I suppose I could jump to the Zenaris Fairy Ring or to the... I don't know, I can't go to the Chasm of Fire, but I can go to the Zenaris Fairy Ring for a bank, I guess. That's not too bad. And then Last Recall back to wherever it was that I was. But yeah, I would like the life gain. It's just going to be handy. If it's on kills, then it limits the amount of scenarios where you can use it. It'd be less useful in like a raiding situation, unless there's lots of little ads that you can kill to regain health, in which case it might be good. I'm thinking like Agile Scarabs might be a perfect target for this. That sort of thing, you know, like Nilo's, the Ape Room, all sorts. But against like a single boss, if it's only going to trigger on the kill and you're facing uh, wardens, then it's not going to give you any health back. It's not going to be useful during that. It really does depend on what it is, but I think that's what I'm edging towards over the styles that reduce your hit points or reward low hit points, because that's not me. And then finally there, at the minute, I am edging towards Guardian. This is, again, it could change. I'm a solo player predominantly. Not because I don't like playing in groups, just because I don't have any friends. So I play most of the stuff on my own, and if I can take a side chick into Tombs of a Mascot with me, or just to speed up demonic gorilla kills or whatever, I think that's just going to be a general benefit that can apply to all aspects of the game. Whereas Undying Retribution only going to trigger now and then when you die, unless you're making yourself die, which maybe you are with some other picks, with like Berserker or whatever. And the Executioner, I think it's good, but again, it's not going to help me with Slayer, you know? It's not going to help me everywhere. It's going to help me against high value bosses, which admittedly is going to be a lot of what we're doing in leagues, right? But I'd rather have that thing that just gives me a bonus everywhere, and that is the Guardian. So it is going to be what I'm picking. Now, thinking about those regions there, I've of course got a question mark. My plan has been Kandarin Desert to Tirannwn, and I have been planning that since I discovered leagues and started deciding to do it. But the past week or so, as we've been getting more reveals, I have been erring on that last choice of Tirannwn. And this is the order I'm going in as well. It's Kandarin Desert, so it is my third choice that we're thinking about here. Now, I was not really planning to pick until later into the league, but while I was making this PowerPoint, I decided to make a slide comparing the items that I could get from each respective region, and it did actually lead me to quite a startling realization that Tirannwn is just not going to give me what I need, and another choice could. So I'll just say before this, I was considering Kourend Zaya for a while, but then I realised that you had to do the Greater Kourend questline. It wasn't auto-completed, and there's no fucking way I'm doing that again. I did it about 5 days ago. I even recorded myself doing it. It took about 3 hours in total, and I deleted the footage afterwards because it was that bloody awful. There is no way I am farming favour and doing all those shitty quests again. Kourend lovers, get out of here. What are you doing, mate? You want to be ploughing fields during your league's experience. That's what you want to be doing. Yeah, it's boosted rate still, but you're still fucking ploughing fields, mate. Get out of here. Anyway, I'm not going Kourend. That was that tangent, essentially. So there's other choices. There's Mauritania, there's the wilderness. Kourend's obviously out of the picture, as Garnia is a big one that a lot of range people are picking, but I'm not a big fan of God Wars. I don't really care about that content. I don't find it that fun. So I don't really want to go to Asgarnia. So what I've landed on, as you'll see, the two that I compared, on the left we've got Tirannwn, the Blowpipe, which I may or may not have gone because I'm not really that big of a fan of Zora, but mainly the Crystal and the Boffa were what I was getting from Tirannwn. The Rune Boots as well from Necreals I won't have access to if I don't pick Tirannwn, but that's less of a factor. I'm not particularly focusing on a melee build anyway, so who cares what my boots are. I'll probably just have God Boots from a Clue Scroll, ideally. And the Crystal Shield, it could be replaced by anything. It's not that important to the build. The Crystal Armor is only important if you're using Crystal Weaponry, and I will probably be using Missouri at endgame, hopefully, so, I'm not going to need the Crystal either. This is essentially where my mind's going. As much as I love doing the Gauntlet, I love the Gauntlet. The Gauntlet is probably my favourite piece of content in this game that I've done repeatedly, like in terms of high-end BVM. As much as I love it, the rewards are just not going to be as good. I really have to consider the fact that my ranged relic is giving me twice a chance to proc my enchanted bolts, which means that being able to get a dragon crossbow by picking Fremennik and through the Lifgren Vault and Rune Dragons there, being able to get a dragon crossbow will much improve that as an end game for those high health bosses where I want to be using ruby bolts, or for those onyx bolt tips that I'm going to be able to cut infinite of with fire sale and moral wreck, that are going to be healing me, that might even make it redundant to pick the lifesteal relic. Haven't figured that out yet. I feel like there's more stuff in this region. There's just more stuff in Fremennik. I get the Nezi. It's a nice, just all-purpose helm. I get all of the rings, all of the basic Fremennik rings, that is, along with the upgrade for the Archer's ring and the Mage's ring, due to also having Desert. It's because Desert Treasure 2 completion, so I could go farm those as well, and that will provide me a lot more versatility in my ring slot. I can even get a Dragon Axe, don't know how important that's going to be, but, you know, it's there. Along with the Phantom Musper drops, so we've got the Ancient Scepter upgrade for if we don't have the Shadow, then we're on Ancients, and we're probably using an Ancient Staff until we get the Shadow, so this could be an easier drop than a Shadow to get. We also have the Venator Bow. It's a super powerful weapon that I haven't had a chance to use personally, but it bounces around between people, and I feel like it could be super fun with the improved attack speed, especially the chance to fire extra projectiles. It definitely could be a force to reckon with in certain areas in this league. And then we've got the Dragon Bone Necklace as well, which is a great prayer upgrade if you want to go for that. Probably have the Zenite, but in certain scenarios, you know, I might be just trying to AFK something and just want unlimited prayer, or not unlimited, but you know what I mean. So yeah, I've decided to change from Tirannwn into Fremennik. I am a Fremennik convert. I will be farming Dagonoths, and I will be a Viking with orange hair. If you've enjoyed it, or it was helpful to you in any way, please do leave a like. It helps push the channel to new people, and I am new to the platform myself of content creation in old school RuneScape, so it would be really nice to grow this community a bit more, and I'm going to be covering all of leagues very intensely. I'm going to be, first week or two, posting every day. After that point, at least once a week, if not more. For the duration, I intend to go as hard as I can. I'm going to be aiming for that Dragon Trophy and get as high in the leaderboards as I can, because it's really exciting and I can't wait to play it. So if you're looking forward to seeing that content, if you want to see my perspective through leagues, definitely do hit the subscribe button as well, because it's going to be on the channel in full force. And leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think of me swapping out Tirannwn for Fremennik. Are you for or against that choice? Do you like my relic choices, or are you going a completely different way and think I'm an absolute idiot? Please let me know any of your thoughts. I'm super hyped to be doing this league, and just to talk about it with people is fun. So I'd love to hear whatever it is you have to say down in the comments. And until next time, that is going to be all. Take care of yourselves, be wonderful to each other, and have a great time trailblazing in Leagues 4.